Hey guys, what's up? I'm just going to start you off with a little video. This is just beautiful, Gabby. I hope you guys are all okay. What's up? I'll be in chat.
And I got this stuff for you, for me, for you.
Hey guys. So, just to get into it really quick, I don't want to pretend like I'm not here for a reason. Um, as most of you know, Brian Laundrie has been found. He was found adjacent to the reserve where they always suspected he was. I personally myself always thought he was there. Um, there was moments in time where I thought he was in Puerto Rico and stuff, but overall, I really thought Brian was in that reserve because that's where his parents said he was. And people were like, why would you believe his parents? I don't know. I just thought they knew. And turns out they freaking did know. And they literally walked them over to where they found him. And as of today, they have said that those skeletal remains by dental records are Brian's. There are a lot of people skeptical. You know what? Today, it's been a heavy day. I will let you guys theorize, say yes or no, but I will say I do think that it's Brian. I will I will not entertain in my head anything else. My husband was like, maybe it's somebody else he did, somebody else he hurt. And I'm like, no, you know what? I don't think that's what it is. I'm pretty sure this is him. And this is just the one thing I didn't want. As much as I hoped that he had done himself in, like just because out of anger, I wanted answers. I not necessarily like court and stuff. I wanted him to be found and then to say why. That's why I like true crime. I always want to know why. I have questions. And hopefully he wrote something in his little diary because now he just left us with all these questions like why did you do it? Why did you hurt the woman that trusted you and the woman that loved you? And why did you just leave her out in the open and then go home like if nothing happened? And was it only when you were caught that you did this? I really have lots of questions for Brian, for his family. I obviously know that I can't get them myself. I would love to. I would definitely like to be one of those people outside of their house yelling. I know people would judge me for it, but I they knew. This entire time everybody was out there is because we knew that they knew. And isn't it just so crazy that that's what happened? I, I just um I have been flabbergasted almost at the fact that if you really think about it, all of these professionals couldn't find them, but they take mom over there and she knows right away. Maybe it was mother's instinct, or maybe they just knew the entire time. Ugh. So Tam Rob says, my 30-year-old daughter passed away today. Car accident, hit, skip. She died instantly. I have no money to buy her. If you could help, please help. I'm so sorry, Tam Robs. That's awful. I'm very, very sorry. Oh man. I'm very, very sorry for your loss. I hope you get a lot of rest as, you'll need it. And I have no words. But, you know, um, bringing it back a little bit to Brian. Brian is just he's a coward in the worst way. He had a girlfriend, a fiance that loved him, and we saw how he was acting. He was acting like a spoiled brat, and people are going to want to blame Gabby. Maybe she did this, maybe or not like maybe she pushed him and stuff like that, but overall, you can tell that this guy was temperamental. We now have friends coming out of the woodwork. So, I don't know, it's very odd. Um he was I don't know, I still think that he is sketchier than they're making it out to be. I find them looking extensively for him as alarming. I find that the FBI not giving up and spending hundreds of $1,000s a day to find him had a little bit more to do than a credit card debt. And it makes me just, hmm. So Valerie says, wouldn't his diary be totally unreadable from being underwater unless it wasn't underwater? How would it not be underwater though, unless it was put there? So Valerie, his dad actually found a bag, like an underwater bag or like a waterproof bag, And I think that's where it was. So with that being said, maybe it will be legible or yeah, legible or yeah. I really hope so. I want to know what was in there other than stupid little drawings. I really want to know more from this guy as much as I hate him and don't think that he would ever really have told the truth. I still need to know. It's just driving me insane thinking about poor Gabby and how she trusted him. And he just threw it all away in a fit of rage. And then he took his own life. Like, what a waste. What an absolute waste. But I have this one video that I had seen Unjustified play. She didn't reply to me. I was going to play hers because I'd like to give her credit. But it is on News Nation now, so I will be playing it just straight from the source. It's pretty interesting. It's an FBI agent, a former FBI agent, and she's weighing in and she's saying, like the thing about his parents, super sketch. Just not normal thing.
Well, if you're just joining us, we have breaking news tonight that the skeletal remains found yesterday in Florida are in fact that of Brian Laundrie, who FBI investigators, police have been searching for about 6 weeks at this point, looking for him. Joining us now to give us a little more insight on this breaking news, former FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffendorfer. Jennifer, thank you for being with us here. Obviously, very breaking news. Just learning this, that those remains are in fact Brian Laundrie's remains. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think after the discovery was made of articles that they knew belonged to him were found very close to where the remains were found, I think all of us probably anticipated this news, although you need to get the medical confirmation that it was truly him. I am not surprised at this point that the remains are his. And sometimes in an investigation, you just have to take a step back. We all who have been following this from the very beginning had a set of clues that were leading us to think he was not in that reserve, which was confirmed, of course, when for 5 weeks, law enforcement could not find him. Sometimes you have to step back and look at the new set of clues before you. It reminds me of a case I had, one of my last cases of a missing 6-year-old, where we thought it was the mother and it ended up not being the mother when all the facts came together. And I think we have to look at the possibility that really what happened was he went in after he returned from his trip, after he had committed this horrible crime. He went there, he committed suicide very early on. His parents knew where he went because that was the location of that Mustang. Mm-hmm. They had searched there many, many times previously. Unfortunately, it was early in the investigation before those waters had receded, continued searching the other 20,000+ acres, and it aligned where their search was not contemporary with the waters receding to expose the body and the belongings.
Well, and Jennifer, they were searching for 6 weeks, and then, the day after this park reopens, his parents make this discovery. What do you think about that?
I don't like it. It smells rotten. It smells bad, especially with the cloud of, wondering what these parents had been up to all of these weeks. But like I said, sometimes you have to just step back and look at the facts we have before us. I do not believe those parents or somebody else went into the reserve and planted his bones. Mm-hmm. I don't believe. I think that it was the perfect storm with that reserve opening, them wanting to go look for their son, since now for the first time it was open. Mm-hmm. They went to the exact same place that they took law enforcement previously. It just was not exposed.
And sometimes, as you said, sometimes that happens. Well, what do you think? I mean, if he had been out there, at this point for days, for weeks, possibly, how likely are we to find out, maybe a cause of death or how long he had in fact been out there?
Well, in my experience with these specific kinds of cases, usually the person that does choose not to run but commit suicide either hangs themselves or they shoot themselves. And if the bones of the skull are intact, I think an ME is going to be able to make that determination if he shot himself.
And, what do you think this means just overall for the investigation? Certainly for Gabby Petito's parents, because there's going to be so many questions that just go unanswered, potentially.
It is so tragic for the families of these victims not to get their questions answered, not to be able to face this person, not to have this person be really in jail suffering for this crime they've committed. It makes for no peace for the Petito family, and it is so sad.
And just quickly, my last question for you, Jennifer. Is this what you anticipated? Is this how you thought it would end?
No, from pretty early on. And again, this was based on the facts we had before us. The fact of the vehicle being brought and then taken back. The fact that the Laundries were not at all cooperative. The fact that they lawyered up. The fact that Brian lawyered up.
You didn't think this would happen?
Yeah, no, I did not. And 6 weeks of him not being found, it made me even further believe that.
Oh.
No, that ended super abrupt. But yes, so this is a former FBI agent, and she's saying herself, like, this seems sketchy. It's not a normal occurrence for the family to just walk in and know where he was. What really could they know? They could have known that he went there in that specific area. I don't know. I don't know. I think his parents are being very weird. And I know a few of you have already seen the attorney speak, but we're going to watch that too. It's 20 minutes, but it's totally worth it. I haven't seen the whole thing. I only saw the tail end of it, but I was like, oh, snap. Like, this guy is just mad aggressive, and yeah. All right. So this is a video by JLD. He's been on scene.
Was Brian Laundrie's dad the one to plant the remains and items found on the reserve? After 5 weeks of law enforcement searching this area with drones and canines, Christopher Laundrie volunteers to join the search and ends up finding a dry bag containing a notebook belonging to his son, Brian Laundrie, within half an hour deep in the bushes of a 30,000-acre reserve, leaving many people to wonder how he found this item so quickly and if he somehow planted these discoveries when the park was open to the public the day before. 2 days ago, Chris Laundrie was seen delivering a package to FedEx. Could it be that he mailed a package to a friend to do the dirty work of planting the item for him so that he could retrieve it the next day? Was Brian Laundrie's dad the one to plant the remains and items found on the reserve? After 5 weeks of law enforcement searching this area with drones and canines, Christopher Laundrie volunteers to join the search and ends up finding a dry bag containing a notebook belonging to his son.
It looks like more than a notebook. I see something yellow right here. It's just, come on. Come on.
Son, Brian Laundrie, within half an hour deep in the bushes of a 30,000-acre reserve, leaving many people to wonder how he found this item so quickly and if he somehow planted these discoveries when the park was open to the public the day before. 2 days ago, Chris Laundrie was seen delivering a package to FedEx. Could it be that he mailed a package to a friend to do the dirty work of planting the item for him so that he could retrieve it the next day? Was Brian Laundrie's dad the one to plant the remains?
Okay, so I totally get what you're saying. Nothing to no one. And you're something here. You're a monkey. Monkey sleuth. So nothing to no one saying planting it, but the body was right there. I happen to think that they planted this evidence next to the body that they already knew was there. I think they knew their son was there the whole time. Personally. They have earned the name Dirty Laundrie for sure. Absolutely. The dad knew exactly where to go. Like the mom is doing that typical, I'm not paying attention to you. I'm walking over here. And I know this is overanalyzing like a short clip, but that's what I do. I'm walking over here. You walk over there, sir. And you are going to walk directly into the path where you walk out with this bag that just coincidentally belongs to your son after people have been searching for literally a month. Literally a month. Why put the notebook there and why not just find the body? You don't want to find the body. You know, they kind of want 6 degrees of separation, but they're going to need this notebook to cover their own asses. I mean, I'm going to safely assume that there is something in this notebook where Brian admits to having done this to Gabby so they can get off completely. Because even though, you know, his family clearly wasn't in Wyoming when this happened, they seem like an accessory. The fact that they paid for him to fly over there when he went to go move their stuff out of storage makes it seem like they were planning something to me. And then now that Brian can't be charged with Gabby's death because he's dead, I think they can be charged with tampering. And I think they're going to try to distance themselves as far away from this as possible. Now, obviously, I don't know logistics and I don't know exactly what's going on. I'm getting this, you know, I'm not much of a believer in conspiracies. I like conspiracies, but I don't really believe them. But I'm willing to believe that there's some type of cover up involved with the parents doing this, especially the fact that they never steered from using their attorney. They were covering their ass from the beginning. Just straight up umbrella over the butt, like, you know, covering themselves. Why? They didn't have to. Even if they hadn't gotten an attorney, they would still look innocent. Of course, they would be somewhat aiding and abetting their son by taking him camping and taking him to wherever he disappeared to. But they shouldn't have. Look at Cassie. Cassie doesn't have an attorney, but they got an attorney. Why? Yeah. Well, go ahead. What are your thoughts on that? And then let's see. I'm going to bust out the interview by the Bertolino. I forgot who said it in my chat. They call him Bertolino, and I cannot get over that. He's such a turd. And now that I've seen him talk and stuff, yeah, he's an A1 app. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's just a jerk. All right, let's see. So this is actually 20 minutes, and I'm really sorry. I know some of you have watched it, but I haven't watched it in full because I wanted to watch it with you guys. So I'm going to bust it out. But I will be in chat, so let's talk about what your ideas are. Nothing to no one. Delaney says, were they left on their own to search, or were they accompanied by someone? That's a good question, Delaney. I think they were being accompanied because there's obviously like people recording them and stuff, but I don't know if they showed up on their own beforehand or whatever. All right, let's see. Let's share the screen with this guy. What happened? That's not it. That wasn't it. All right, here we go. I will see you guys in 20, but I'll be in chat.
Testing and confirmation, and it's my understanding is that is what was used to identify.
Mr. Bertolino, we thank you for your time. Some major news today, and the remains have been identified. Tell us what you've learned.
Just a short while ago, I confirmed with Chris and Roberta Laundrie that representatives from the Northport Police Department visited their home and advised them that the remains were positively identified as those of Brian.
Have they been asked to identify the remains in person?
No, they have not. We had previously provided items for DNA testing and confirmation, and it's my understanding is that is what was used to identify the remains.
Under the circumstances, I think, first of all, this is difficult news for any parent to receive. How are your clients doing?
I've been using the word distraught for the last couple of days now, and they're extremely upset. And for some unknown reason, there are still people outside of their home, yelling and screaming and causing a ruckus, which any parent that's grieving the loss of a child should not have to deal with that.
This has been a difficult few weeks for so many families, the Petitos as well. Do your clients understand the focus and attention on them?
Of course they understand it. And it's been, how should I say, it's been very difficult to bear.
Many have asked why they got a lawyer, why they hired you.
And
I'm sorry, you cut out there. I'm going to ask that again. Why did your clients lawyer up?
you used the term lawyer up. I've been a friend of Chris Laundrie for over 25 years. And when I got a phone call from Chris advising me that he was getting some inquiries from law enforcement, he asked me if I could assist him. And of course, I was more than glad to do so.
At any point in the last 5 weeks, have you spoken with Brian Laundrie?
Yes, I spoke to Brian Laundrie on September 12th and September 13th.
And what can you share about that conversation?
Not much. Any conversation I had with Brian Laundrie is privileged. I can tell you that Chris and Roberta have been worried about Brian Laundrie since Brian went out for the hike on that Monday. And from there's been a lot of speculation, a lot of accusations, a lot of news outfits have proliferated that misinformation. And I firmly believe that's why these protesters are out there, because this has just become a circus, which there was no need for it to be that way.
Did you ever see Brian Laundrie in person when he returned to Florida?
I did not.
And when was the last time his parents saw him before he went hiking?
The morning he left for the hike.
Have you believed over the last few weeks that he was alive?
We were hopeful that he was alive because we had not heard from him and there was no sign of him after all of the search efforts that law enforcement had made. Obviously, each passing day and week, we understood that there might be a grim reality coming in the future. Those were confirmed today.
Did Brian's parents share with you, did he share a plan with them?
A plan for what?
A plan for what he was going to do?
His plan was to go out for a hike and absorb the fresh air, that's what I understand.
Was Brian in communication with his parents after he left the house on cell phone or in any other way?
No, he was not. I believe that was clarified, that Brian had left his cell phone at home.
Did Brian have any way to communicate?
And yet, excuse me, Monty, and yet the news outlets, indeed Fox News just yesterday, had an anchor and pundits on their air setting forth how the Laundrie parents and myself were communicating with burner phones with Brian over the last several weeks.
Well, I think there's a lot of
questions.
questions. There's a lot of questions that everyone has. So my question to you is, have you communicated with Brian at any point after you spoke with him on the phone on the 12th and 13th?
No, I haven't.
Did you know where he was?
I knew that he went to the reserve.
Let's talk about the reserve. A lot of people can't wrap their minds around the fact that the reserve had been searched week after week, was reopened to the public, and then less than 24 hours, the parents went out there. What did they share with you about their reasoning for going out there and why they knew specifically where to go?
Marnie, as I've stated several times yesterday and now throughout today, it's not about knowing specifically where to go. The park was just recently opened. I believe it was Tuesday or Wednesday that the park was open. Chris and Roberta wanted to go in the park again to search for their son. Specifically where to go was start at the beginning. And as has been, how shall I say, confirmed, both with a news reporter and with the police department and the FBI being present, they started at the beginning of the preserve. It just so happened that that's where Brian was. So my thought would be anybody who's questioning that, it's not too bright.
Well, clarify that, because I think no one has the answers here. Certainly the public doesn't. You have more answers than most. We assume that the parents knew more than we do. So clarify what the public doesn't understand about what's going on.
What the public doesn't understand, I don't understand. You have a trailhead. The trailhead marks the beginning of a trail. You don't jump from the sky and land in the middle of the preserve. You start at the trailhead. That's where the parents started. The parents walked into the park from the entrance to the park or the trailhead. They went about a mile or so, and that's where they found the items and the remains. What is so difficult to understand about that?
Well, I think it's hard to grapple with the fact that the reserve had been searched so extensively by FBI professionals over the last 4 or 5 weeks, and they hadn't come across anything. And then all of a sudden, we have several items and human remains. I think that's what people aren't fully understanding, the timing of that.
So once again, I don't understand what the public doesn't understand. Everyone from the FBI to local enforcement to news reporters, to the Laundrie family, has confirmed that area of the park was underwater. I am told that it was waist deep at some times. So from 4 to 5 weeks ago being completely underwater, when the search teams went through there, what did they expect to find? Now that the water has receded, the woods off the trail are more accessible. It's not very difficult. Because it's very simple and the public doesn't understand simplicity or the truth, you want to make something of it. And when I say you, I don't mean you particular, I mean the public.
So walk us through the phone call that you got from the Laundries. Was this Tuesday night? They said, we want to go back out to the reserve. What was that conversation like? And what did they tell you?
So to be clear, I talked with the Laundries at least twice a day for the last month. And when I spoke with them on Tuesday evening, Chris informed me that he wanted to go to the reserve on Wednesday with Roberta. They wanted to know if I thought that was a good idea. We talked about it. I said, it absolutely is a good idea and it's fine, you should go. But are you concerned about being followed by the press? They indicated to me that they were concerned about the press, but they were willing to deal with it as they've been dealing with it. I said, I think it's a good idea to notify law enforcement. And I did so through a text message to my contact at the Northport Police Department. The responsive text message was a very short, thank you for the heads up. Wednesday morning, when Chris and Roberta were at the preserve at 7 a.m., law enforcement was there respectfully to accompany them. And what I was told afterwards, that their main purpose or concern was that the press didn't harass the Laundries through the preserve.
Did they ask you to contact the police?
No, they did not. Obviously, it was something that I suggested, and it's a good thing that we did. It's imagine what the public would be thinking if the police weren't there. Imagine what the public would be thinking if a lot of this wasn't caught on video. And still, with an independent reporter and a representative of law enforcement from a local agency, a representative from the FBI being present, and you still have these nonsensical people putting forth ideas that certain items were planted.
You've called that hogwash. You've called the suggestion that items were planted were hogwash. Why is that?
I'm sorry, we were speaking over one another. Can you repeat that?
Yes, of course. You have suggested that any claims that the Laundries planted items in the reserve is hogwash. Why?
Marnie, I thought I was very clear in just explaining to you why. If you've got the FBI, the local PD, an independent news reporter, all there at the same time seeing the same thing, you've got quote unquote surveillance of the Laundries 24/7 by protesters and people of the press. When did you think these items were planted? And do you really think the Laundries had skeletal remains of their son, you know, in a plastic bag and brought them to the preserve? Do you realize how ludicrous that is? How aggravating, how maddening it is to even hear those things? And the fact that it's being put out there by the press as well, that's where my level of frustration and anger is coming from. Maybe somebody with a platform should step up and say, hey, knock it off. This is just silly. So if I'm the only one who has to say that this is hogwash because I didn't want to say the word bullshit, then I'm going to say it. It's bullshit. And I'm sorry if John Q. Public doesn't get that.
Let me ask you, Mr. Bertolino, from the very beginning, the public has been watching this case unfold, starting with Gabby's disappearance. I think everyone understands your client's right to stay silent, to not talk. That silence does not presume guilt. However, in the court of public opinion, the last few weeks have been difficult. Legally, I understand that argument, but ethically, did they ever consider reaching out to the Petitos, reaching out to law enforcement in help finding Gabby?
Unfortunately, Marnie, I can't have that conversation with you at this time.
Why is that?
I just can't. It's not the appropriate time to have that conversation.
But it's an ethical conversation, not just for the parents of Brian, but for you as an attorney. At any point when they were searching for Gabby, did you feel the need, compelled to help?
I can tell you that at this moment in time, Chris and Roberta Laundrie just learned that their son's remains were identified. He is now no longer with them. At some point in time in the future, there may be more information as what I felt, what the Laundries felt, what we, quote, ethically, thought about the case. Now is not the time to do that. You've asked me the question 2 or 3 times. I'm going to respectfully tell you again, it's not the time to discuss that.
Have the Laundries reached out to the Petito family at all? And has the Petito family reached out to them in recent days?
The Laundrie family has not reached out to the Petitos, and to my knowledge, the Petitos have not reached out to the Laundries.
What are the Laundries' plans now?
At the moment, they're going to grieve their son.
And then what?
Marnie, I don't mean to be rude, and I know you have a job to do. They were just told less than a half hour ago that their son is deceased. Do you think that they really have thoughts on anything other than that their son is no longer with them?
No, and I respect their privacy, and I can't begin to imagine the pain that they're going through. I just know that so many of us have questions about what has happened, not just to Gabby, but to Brian. The nation has been watching this search for him, what turned into a manhunt across the country. And so we are curious. We want answers. You're the closest to the family, and I want to know how they're doing. I want to know what their plans are.
Marnie, I don't have any information on the plans that the Laundries have. And I want to tell you, because I've got to stop myself, I'm taking some of my anger and frustration out on you. As you may know, I knew Brian Laundrie since he was an infant, since he was a small child. This is hard. I shed a tear or two today as well. I've shared that with the Laundries. The fact that the public is continuing this nonsensical, we're hiding him in the beginning. We've fed him food. We've communicated with him. And every platform, because you hear that if you have a platform, you should use it for the good. You respect that they have the right to remain silent. But there are people in your position, maybe not you, but in your position, that never once pushed back on these so-called experts and pundits who did nothing but say, this is immoral, this is unethical. Somewhere along the line, somebody with a platform, someone in your position should have said, hey, you know what? Back off. This is America, and in our system of justice, they have the right to remain silent. So I'm kind of a little perturbed that now I have to go back and explain how we didn't plant remains and personal items in a preserve when the upper echelons of law enforcement is telling everyone this is legit by their actions, by their words, and yet we have to now go back and somehow educate John Q. public? And you guys perpetrate this. You put it forth. And you
Well, I'm
continue
going to stop
do it.
you right there. I have said a number of times that the Laundrie parents have every right to remain silent, whether the public agrees with that right or not. But our search is for answers, and that is where it will continue to lie. Answers not only in what happened to your client, Brian Laundrie, and what happens with his parents moving forward, but also what happened to Gabby. And there are many who are concerned that we may never know what happened in this case, given what has transpired today.
As I've said now for probably the fourth or fifth time, today is not the day to discuss that.
You know what I want to ask you? I want to ask you, Mr. Bertolino, you mentioned that you have known Brian for years. That is one thing that we have not been able to get much on in the last month and a half. Who is Brian Laundrie? What kind of person was he? What do you know about him that you're willing to share?
Monty, I know him as the child of a friend of mine. I didn't go to school with him. I didn't hang out with him. He's 30 years my junior. So to ask me what type of person he is, I'm sure he was a good kid, just like every parent says their kid is a good kid. When all is said and done, I'm pretty much, how shall I say, not going to discuss anything further other than what type of child Brian was, other than to say, Brian is no longer with us. The family is mourning, and I would hope that we could, let them mourn, let them grieve, and maybe somebody besides myself could come out and say, hey, protesters, go away tonight. Could you do that?
I just have a couple more questions. Have you spoken with Cassie?
Not today, but I have spoken with her and Jim recently, yes.
Do you plan to continue to represent the family moving forward, and do you see a need for that?
I will be representing the family as long as it's necessary.
Anything else you'd like to share and clarify about what has happened?
No, I just want to apologize to you as an individual for my anger and frustration, but I've been dealing with this all day, and I put out some statements that this is nonsense. And to hear it come from a platform like yours, that the question is even posed. I get that the internet is a whole different world, that the Twitter world and the people who play in that world, I understand that they may have a need for this. But for more respectable organizations to do the same thing, I find troubling.
What do you find so troubling about the public's curiosity and search for answers?
Curiosity and search for answers is one thing. Coming up with completely off the charts in the scheme of reality propositions of literally planting evidence, planting articles, even planting the remains, it's just beyond compare. That's what I find troubling.
So just one more thing about that, and I promise I will let it go. Did your clients go out to the reserve prior to yesterday morning on their own at any time?
Yes, they did. Back in early September, I shouldn't say early September, mid-September, which would have been the 14th and the 15th.
Were they there with Brian or with authorities?
No, they were there on their own. That was the day after Brian had went for the hike and didn't come home.
And what did they do there?
They walked around the trails looking for Brian initially.
Is this when they picked up the car?
On the second day, they picked up the car, correct.
Did they find any items or anything that led them to believe that he was out there at that time?
Beside the car? No.
All right, Mr. Bertolino, we appreciate your time. I know this is a difficult day for many, including you. We thank you for giving us a moment to talk about it.
Monty, once again, I want to apologize to you because I don't mean to take my frustration out on you. You are the first person I've spoken to since I've learned the news. And, I'm upset, I'm angry, And for the last 4 hours, I've been dealing with, I have to just call it nonsense.
Well, I'd like to extend an invitation to you to come back on when you're ready to share more, and also to Brian Laundrie's parents when they're ready.
Good enough, Marnie. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
So is it just me, or did we just catch Turtolino in a... Oops. Did we just catch Turtolino in a lie? So he's telling her over and over, he's so sorry. He's so sorry that obviously he's being a dick, but he says that it's because he's been dealing with all these people all afternoon. And then he tells her, but you're the first person I've talked to since I found out. Squeeze me? So you're just sitting there reveling in your anger. So he also said something that I hadn't heard previously, because I only watched a little bit of this with Crazy Crime Chick. And you guys know that I like to watch it with you guys. Like, sometimes I won't watch stuff just so I could watch it with you guys. Even though I wasn't sure I was going to go live, I still saved it. And that's sacrificing. Like, as nosy as I am, it was sacrificing, but I wanted to watch it with you guys. So one thing I get from listening to that is, oh, snap. Obviously, I knew he was a family friend, an attorney from being a friend. He let it all out. I've known Brian since he was a little bitty baby. I bet you he's something like a godfather or something, allegedly. And it is totally legal to represent somebody you know. But you still have a code of ethics that you need to work with. I think this guy would have been incapable of removing his emotions and actually representing Brian correctly had Brian not died and gone to court and gone to trial, or just gone to court. He's so emotional because he knows Brian, and I can understand that. I really can. Somebody said, did you notice that anytime Gabby's name is said, he like reacts, like he blinks several times? I hate comparing Gabby's death to anybody else because this is a unique situation altogether. But most of the time when a man has killed their significant other, and he was the sweetest guy in the world, and they don't know he was such a sweet boy, and I don't know if he could have done this, and he's maybe even innocent, they always find a way to blame the spouse, the literal victim, because they are dead. Even if they had slapped him back at some point, they are dead now. So they were the victim of this domestic abuse, but somehow the family will find a way to blame them. And there has been a friend that spoke out of Roberta's that, that kind of was like, well, Gabby, kind of calling her like a freeloader. Let's just say she was. Wasn't her son a freeloader too? Obviously, it's her son, so she's not going to talk trash on him. But this poor girl that just died, that's not what you say when somebody dies. I mean, honestly, when somebody dies, you usually put on your rose-colored glasses and don't talk about their inconsistencies or the negative things in their life for a while, out of respect, out of juju, out of karma, out of being a good person. But instead, this family has not responded at all about anything about Gabby. Why? Because they're probably blaming Gabby for whatever Brian did. Whatever he did to her, they're going to blame her for it. I just made sure that my mic was on. I was like, I've been ranting and I haven't even looked down. Hey, Brunch Mom, how are you? Long time no talk, girl. Have they released how she was killed? Yes, she was killed by manual strangulation and throttling, which is just when you use pressure to kill somebody. But I personally think that he maybe was probably hitting her before that happened. I don't think it was the first time that he had ever put his hands around her neck. I don't think it was the first time he had ever hurt her. As we saw in Moab, Utah, they had physical altercations before. And some of my girlfriends and I were talking about this, and we were saying, Gabby obviously took the abuse. And I hate saying that because I've never been a victim of domestic abuse. So when I haven't been when it hasn't personally affected me, like myself, I hate to even pretend like I understand. But coming from a point of view where I've been following tons of cases like this my entire life, I've seen it almost firsthand. I've seen it firsthand, you know, from friends and family and stuff. I feel as if Gabby took the abuse because she was feisty herself and she knew that she could defend herself until a certain point. Like, I know people that I've spoken to already who watched the body cam and they're upset with how Gabby was acting because she was covering for him and because she wasn't being forthcoming. And I said, you know, you can't put yourself in her position unless you're in her position. She was so scared of getting in trouble by him that she was going to lie to the cops, get it all off. Like, she was blaming herself because she felt that she was at fault. She was fighting with him. She slapped him around. He slapped her around. They were arguing. And then the cops get there and she's like, oh, crap. Now I'm going to get in trouble with Brian after they leave, no matter what. No matter what, she was going to get in trouble. And guess what, guys? She got in trouble because here we are now. A month and a half later, and both of them are gone. It's almost as if, no, dude, you've lied all along. Who? But yeah. Let's see. I don't know who you are, but I don't got time today. So, obviously, I think that the family and Mr. Bertolino over here, that they've been angry at Gabby this whole time. And that's why they've given little to no statements, even after we found out that Gabby was found. Remember that cold-ass statement that they left? And then it was through this guy. He put out this cold-ass statement. He should have had the forethought to say, kind of give it a little love. Don't look so bad in the public. But no, he didn't. He was brash. They were cold, and they knew it. Why? Because they don't care. They don't care about Gabby. And one of my main questions was, when Brian was missing, why weren't they looking for Brian? They weren't looking for Brian because they knew Brian was dead. They weren't panicking except when people were coming to their door because Brian wasn't there and they knew they weren't going to find him. So if they were in their house, they were fine. But when people were coming to their door looking for him, he's not alive. So they couldn't produce him. So it was making them scared. So they would call the cops. That's why they don't want to be barricaded in their house, because they knew the outcome. What a coincidence. I mean, the most suspicious coincidence that they head out to the reserve. Suddenly, mommy heads out there, walks to the left, dad walks to the right, and he finds his bag. Next to the bag is partial remains of Brian. Coinkydink? I mean, really, though, it's not. It's just suspicious. It's not even a coincidence. It's just grossly suspicious. So, I don't know if they found a gun. I'm pretty sure they haven't said they did. There was somebody saying, well, there was a moment in time when they were saying that there was a gun missing. And I have heard that it was from the Mustang, blah, 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 but I don't know. It's not for sure. But I do have another video where they are saying something to the effect of, not only did they find partial remains of his skeleton, but they found like fragments of his skull. So as if some of his skull is missing. And that normally happens with a gunshot wound to the head. Unless he had blunt force trauma, I don't think the animals could have taken parts of his skull. I mean, maybe the mandible, like separating the mandible from the upper skull. But I'm guessing like kind of reminiscent of JFK, where you shoot yourself and a piece of your skull, obviously is far detached from your head afterwards. The trajectory would just take it out. Ara, I do think that it was either, I do think that something was planted out there, not the body. I think something was planted out there, maybe to cover their tail, to get, I don't know. I just think it's very telling that they had to find him. You know what I mean? Like, they almost had to go back there. I don't get it. It makes no freaking sense. Why couldn't they just send the cops over there? Let's see. Rachel says, I think he did it immediately and the animals likely fed on his remains. Again, sorry if that's too graphic. Well, this is just the truth around here right now. Like, there is other creators that were like, I don't think it's him. I really don't think it's him. And I'm like, why, why wouldn't you think it's him? Because it's a skeleton. I'm like, well, in Florida, in water, it definitely could be skeletonized. I knew that, but that's because I've followed lots of Florida cases, and they do become skeletonized very quickly. And sure enough, turned out to be him. And I know there's a lot I said I would give everybody the opportunity to be skeptical tonight. A lot of people don't believe it's him. They're like, I need more proof than just dental records. They're like, is this a real is this a real person that does dental records? Like, people want more proof. They're really just, this is just such a bizarre ending to this case. And a lot of people are asking, is this the end of the case? I think unless they go civil, that's the end. I mean, isn't that like Maya Marcano? The other lady that was missing in Florida, 19, the guy that was suspected of kidnapping her killed himself before she was found. And that's it. Unless they pass laws in her name, that's it. He ended it. And that's kind of, it reminds me of, when John Walsh was saying, Brian, just do it to yourself, take yourself out of misery, or, put yourself out of misery, and don't drag this family through court. That's what he meant. He meant if he offs himself, it's over. Aside from finding out details, maybe from the notebook and stuff like that, it's over. Like, there's no accomplices. I don't think there's, I think the parents are going to get away with everything. And I don't know what they did necessarily. I don't mean to laugh. I'm so uncomfortable with how I feel about them. I'm not happy with myself and how I feel about them, because I know that they're parents. I've had a lot of people are into this case, but not just a lot of people that are not normally into true crime cases. I have friends that hate true crime, have always known that I love true crime. Anytime, I lived with one of my roommates for 7 years. Anytime I had a murder mystery on, she was out the door. She hated all of it. She's been messaging me about Gabby. She was a van lifer. She's wild, beautiful, and free. And it's put it into perspective that this could very well happen. But now she's also a mother. And she's like, I would protect my son. Wouldn't you? And to be honest, guys, my children are the one thing you will catch me being ferocious over in a millisecond. Doesn't matter who it is. I am absurdly protective of my children. But I promise you this, if any of my daughters came home after having supposedly been on a trip with their boyfriend, and they came home in their boyfriend's truck, and their boyfriend's family was calling me, I'd have some questions. I'd be answering the phones. I would not cover for them. I don't think I would. As much as I love my daughters, I don't think I would cover for them. I am that much of a person with a heart. I would not be okay with somebody that I knew, loved, had in my home just being gone, disappearing. That would bother me. Whether or not it was my daughter, it would bother me. How could they not just answer the phones? Just letting the phones go to voicemail. Let me talk to you. No, I'm going to get an attorney while your daughter is missing in a national forest. I'm going to pretend like my son is in the home until I can't cover it up any longer. What the hell was going on? What the hell happened? I think we're just going to be left with all these questions because these people are buttoned up. I mean, even the attorney's offended. He's offended for them. I really thought that this was going to drag on longer. I thought we were going to find Brian. And I thought at some point they were going to fire Bertolino because he's just making them look bad. But I think it's not that he's making them look bad. They're bad. And then he's just putting it out there on the neon sign for us. They're not good people. Allegedly, my opinion. And I think it obviously rubbed off on their son because he has no heart. He is literally in pictures with his nephews camping after having been a month-long camping trip, happy as a clam. Where was Gabby? I don't even want to, like, I see it in my head. I see Gabby in my head. How did he not? If I can imagine it, close my eyes, and I can see it with my eyes open. If I can not stop thinking about Gabby, somebody I've never met, this is the woman that he was supposed to marry. This is the person that's supposed to be in his future, his today, his tomorrow. He's still linked to her on Instagram. What was he going to do? What were the plans? I literally think that was his goodbye with his family. As cheesy as it sounds, I think they went to Fort DeSoto to say goodbye. They went to go have s'mores, like a Thanksgiving dinner before your brother goes back to Switzerland. I've heard he had schizophrenia too. And honestly, I don't doubt it. I really don't. Rose seems pretty truthful, to be honest with you. She hasn't been off yet. And she was saying that, he heard voices, that Gabby told her he heard voices. And I laugh because I've been watching the Netflix show You, YOU, and this guy is a serial killer. And he is nonstop narrating the show. He's just talking throughout the show. And, sometimes my husband and I are like, he needs to shut up. His thoughts, he just has so many thoughts. And I told my husband at one point, I was like, to be honest with you, I have that many thoughts. My brain is talking all day long. And as an adult, I now know that that's not how everybody works. I didn't know that there were people, a long time ago, I didn't know that there was people out there that didn't narrate their life in their head. Only a portion of us hear nonstop talking in our head. I can imagine if it was just so many intrusive thoughts that you can't decipher if it's your own voice or somebody else's. I know my voice is the one talking to me, but I could totally believe that you could have so many incoming things that it could drive you crazy. He also, in his Pinterest, he had pinned a book about autism, which made me think that he was somewhat on the spectrum and all that stuff. And, I believe it. I believe that Brian was mentally disturbed. And I believe that Gabby gave him a chance, and she gave him a chance for love and for comfort and for trust. And when it started going bad, sometimes some of us are fixers. And I think she was just going to try to fix it. But also, her mom is insistent that they weren't engaged. When you listen to the first press conferences, her mom is adamant that they weren't engaged. And the Moab call in August on the 13th, they're saying they're fiancés. It makes me think that sometime between Moab and the 25th, when she was in Moab, but when she was in the hotel and Brian went back home, I have a feeling that she broke it off with him. Because he probably punished her for what happened with the cops. And she's probably over it. And then he ditches her and goes back to Florida when he could have taken her to close out a storage unit. He was going to spend money. They were going to drop money on a hotel, drop money on a plane. Now we know his parents paid because they asked the sister. She said she didn't know that, but lets me know that that's true. How are they going to save money that way? By staying in a hotel and him flying back and forth instead of just leaving the storage unit open? Makes no sense. It makes me think that they were planning something, or his parents heard that they had this altercation in Moab, and they're like, oh my gosh, my dear boy, you need to come over here, get out of there. And then he went back home, and then him and Gabby made up, and he came back. Or something to that effect. But I think that this was, I'm not going to say it was pre-planned, but I think it was predestined. I think he was just going to flip out on her at any point anyway. And Gabby was, it was her van. She could just go on without him. He was the one trying to leave her. He was the one trying to ditch her in her van. He was making her feel like he at any point could leave. So I feel like he was using their codependency against her. But at the same time, I know that the mom being adamant about them not being, engaged makes me think that Gabby had come to some sort of, I think Gabby was coming to a conclusion that this wasn't okay, especially when you think about the thing about the Mary Piglets, the woman that said that she saw them at the restaurant at the Mary Piglets, that Gabby was going in and apologizing to the staff for Brian, that she was going in and like trying to take him out, trying to usher him out, apologizing to staff. Why? Because he had lost it. He even says in one of his Instagram posts, "Thank you for dealing with me throughout Utah." I think, yeah. Hey, Matt, thank you. I've had so much to say, and I really haven't been able to go live. No, Gabby was not pregnant, Marilyn. Most of my people are here right now, so I will let you guys know that one of the reasons I have not been live lately is because I am pregnant. And I've been having like really bad morning sickness, first trimester stuff. So technically, I haven't gone live because I'm afraid of going live and then getting sick. But it's kind of going away now, and I've been feeling a little bit better. So I feel more comfortable going live again. But that's also, why I haven't been so active. I didn't know how to go about it. I had to definitely take a little step back and figure out how I was going to go about telling you guys, because as you guys know, I don't show my face often. I don't show my family. I don't show pictures. And that's because my family didn't ask to be on the internet. I will start going live actually with my face soon. I have to have everything perfect, but I almost have my setup ready. But, I don't know how much I want to share because the internet's crazy. But at the same time, I know I can't keep it from you guys, but I also don't want people to think like this is your baby. This isn't YouTube's baby. I don't want people to think that I'm going to be uploading like ultrasounds and stuff like that. But I also don't want to keep it from anybody. I'm very happy. We're very excited to be having a new baby. And this will be baby number 3, either a baby brother to 2 sisters or a sister or a baby sister to 2 other sisters. So, I wanted to make sure that I let you guys at least know why I've been slagging off a little bit. It's not intentional. It's just, I don't want to promise myself to you guys and then be midway and be like, I have to go. I'm sure you guys had been noticing I was like out of breath and stuff. I didn't know. Well, not right away. It's been about 3 weeks now. But yeah, so I had no idea why I was like not feeling my best and feeling irritable and emotional more so about this case. You guys know, I've been really emotional. And so, yeah, I will keep you guys updated I've been thinking like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to go about it? But I will keep you guys updated in the most private way. I don't know. Yeah, but little monkey coming. Hey, little miss, what's going on? But that is, hey, crazy, what's going on? How are you? Yeah, crazy claimed the baby. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. Let's see. When he came back by himself in the police, when he came back by himself, he would be dead and we would have gotten justice for her. But I think it's the police's fault. They should have looked him up when he came. Yes, I definitely believe that he should have been arrested when they found out that he came back with her van. And I think if there's going to be any laws changed, it's obviously not to take away the 5th Amendment, but to be able to question somebody who has a missing spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend, fiance, friend, and then not have reported them. I think that that's when it's like, okay, it's okay to question them. Your 5th Amendment right doesn't apply here. I think that would be somewhat justice for Gabby. Yeah, crazy. I didn't know when I was going to tell people. I've just been scared. They did need enough evidence to arrest, but they have, there's other YouTubers out there. I don't have the paperwork exactly pulled up, I don't know exactly where to pull it up. But they knew about the debit card from the very beginning. So the dad, Gabby's dad had mentioned something about the debit card, I think. That's kind of what I remember. So they did kind of know. Why they didn't use that way back then, I don't know. I really don't. But I wish they would have. I wish they would have arrested him on something silly. And I still have questions about when the van was first seen, because they said that they knew the van was in town by cameras. And then they obviously found the van at his house. I've mentioned this before. Gabby has a close family friend that they call each other cousins. And she had said that Brian was pulled over by the police when he first arrived to Florida, when they were looking for the van. And that's when he lawyered up. Now, I don't know if that's true, but I'm dying to know if that's true. Because if it is, I wish they would have arrested him then and there. And the fact that they didn't, they totally dropped the ball. They should have arrested him. They should have found something. They should have just made something up. They make up stuff all the time. Maybe the parents are good with law enforcement. Maybe. I mean, they obviously have a good lawyer. I assume because they hadn't found her body yet. So she could have possibly given him permission, considering they were a couple. Yeah, that's definitely why. But I think, I don't know. I think the fact that he didn't report her missing and the family had to report her missing and then he wasn't answering, they should have found something. They should have done something. Oh my God, that lawyer was so grumpy, like really bad grumpy. I couldn't believe it. I watched some of it with you, Crazy, and then I played it right now. The fact that he said that he has known Brian all his life, obviously there's a conflict of interest, but you're still allowed to know the person you're representing. It's not illegal for him to be his representative. But I was like, this guy would have never been able to remove his feelings. Like I even try to say at some point that it seems as if he's mad at Gabby too. Like they're probably all mad at Gabby, and I could feel it searing from him. Like they're upset this happened, but not because she's passed, but because now he's passed because of her, kind of thing. I don't know. Did he have a brother? I don't know. Let's see. It was something really wrong with that boy's head, because the first picture I seen of him, I knew something wasn't right with him, and he had a lot of things going on in his head. Yeah, he has that look. He had that look of there's a lot going on in here, and I'm volatile. And that's just being me. That's just me safely assuming stuff. Let's see, how long is this? Oh, this is long. Let's see this. What does this have to say?
Northport Police Department, thank you for your continued diligence on this story, and thanks for your patience. As you know, the Northport Police Department has worked collaboratively with the FBI throughout this investigation. Special Agent Michael McPherson is going to make a prepared statement. There's not going to be any questions today, but hopefully it answers some of them. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael McPherson. I'm the Special Agent in charge of the FBI Tampa Division. As you're aware, the FBI and the Northport Police Department and our state and local law enforcement partners have been searching the area of the Carlton Reserve for Brian Laundrie, a person of interest in the murder of Gabby Petito. Earlier today, investigators found what appears to be human remains, along with personal items such as a backpack and notebook belonging to Brian Laundrie. These items were found in an area that up until recently have been underwater. Our evidence response team is on scene using all available forensic resources to process the area. It's likely the team will be on scene for several days. I know you have a lot of questions, but we don't have all the answers yet. We are working diligently to get those answers for you. We are grateful for the dedication and professionalism of the Northport Police Department, along with our partners from the state and local agencies. Complex investigations such as this cannot be accomplished by one agency alone, but there are just too many agencies to name them all here today. portions of the Myakkahatchee Creek Environment Park and Carlton Reserve will remain closed to the public until further notice. This is an active and ongoing investigation, so we ask the public to maintain distance from any law enforcement personnel, equipment, vehicles, and other related activity for the safety of the public and to protect the integrity of our work. We have no additional comment related to today's activities. Our FBI Denver office is the lead investigative agency, and all future inquiries should be directed to them. We appreciate the tremendous support from the public and continue to ask for your assistance in bringing this investigation to close. Thank you.
Was the backpack found near the body?
Justice for Gabby! 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 Justice for Gabby!
Breaking news on WFLA now.
Yikes.
Here is JB Buno.
You hear the calls. Justice for Gabby. After the FBI announces information that we have been receiving over the last several hours. Partial human remains discovered here today at the Carlton Reserve near a backpack and a notebook. A backpack and a notebook that might belong to Brian Laundrie, a scene that is now going to take several days for them to comb through, an evidence response team with the FBI and other law enforcement agencies here at the scene in Florida. Hey folks, JB Buno here with you live on WFLA Now. Let's show you that area here again. You saw that there were folks there on lawn chairs. Yes, lawn chairs that have, the folks that have been outside of the Carlton Reserve or really outside of Myakkahatchee Wall. Just goes to show.
Do you think the lawn chairs are still there? Or do you think they've all gone home now? I personally think they've all gone home. I just want to see that press conference real fast. I don't need to watch this guy again. I've been watching him for like 2 straight days.
Mr. Bertolino, we thank you for your time.
Not you again. Ugh, that man. Just don't like him. I don't want to look at him. Let's see. Let me pull out my picture real fast. Why? Oh, well. Who is that, JB? Yeah, it was JB. But I mean, who else has been watching the news nonstop? I don't even watch the news that often. But I can't stop watching it now. Like I said, I have friends that aren't even into true crime messaging me, asking me. Some of them are like giving me updates at the same time that I'm getting updates. I'm like, dang, girl, you're on it. This has definitely moved a lot of people. And now this is just so inconclusive. It angers me. It really pisses me off. I needed more. Call me a drama queen or something. Like, this isn't enough. I wanted to hear more about what was going on. I needed to hear, I always call him Brian. I need to hear Brian's explanation. Obviously, I couldn't have forced it out of him, but I was hoping we were going to find out something. Obviously, he was too much of a coward to let us figure it out. He definitely took the easy way out. And this is just assuming that he committed suicide. This could have also been a natural cause. He could have been bit by a snake, but magically his parents knew where he got bit by the snake, which is interesting. But yes, I hate him so much. I wish he wouldn't have done this. I, at some point, wanted this to happen. I completely agreed. I wish I had said something to the effect of, I just want him to be, I wish he would have done it just to get it over with. And now I'm like, damn, her family really isn't going to get the answers that they want, because they wanted to find Brian to get answers. They had questions for him, and he's taken that away, and so has his family. They're just all assholes. Well, let's see. This is... Here you go.
Well,
Just a sec.
well, did he hang himself? Okay, well, was there?
I want to bring in someone else who's a friend of the show, Joseph Scott Morgan. He is a certified death investigator, which is really what we need right about now. He's also a distinguished scholar of applied forensics at Jacksonville State University. He's the host of the podcast Body Bags. So, Joe, you heard the news today as well. And there's lots for someone like you to make sense of. We know that these are skeletal remains. We know that they've been there a long time. We know that there were clothes apparently beside the remains, and reports say the same clothes that Brian Laundrie was wearing when he left on that hike. And then we hear it's dental records. I'm sure that's all normal to you, but take us a little further into your science and help us with, understand what's going on right now.
First off, the most shocking thing for me, Ash, is the fact that they got this body identified so quickly with dental records. It's almost like they were prepared with them prior to. Generally, it takes some time to first acquire the dental records. You realize how quick this was? They were able to actually do the dental exam and get this body identified that quickly. They had these in their back pocket. They were waiting on this. Now, I don't know if they suspected that he was down or not, but that, for me, was particularly striking.
So here's the question. A lot of people say, well, we now want to know how he died, Joe. We want to know if it'll be really hard to determine how Brian Laundrie died. Did he kill himself? Did he shoot himself? Did he hang himself? Did he overdose? Did he die of elements? And it sounds to me like there's not a whole lot of tissue, which is really critical in your line of work. Can we find out how he died?
Yeah, let's back up a little bit. You had mentioned skeletal remains. They're actually saying partial skeletal remains. And I've even heard one report that the skull might be compromised in some way, that there might be some elements of the skull missing. So what do? Well, you don't have any soft tissue. They've already stated that the body is skeletonized. And so it's going to be a very difficult task in order to identify something unless there is specific trauma to an area like the skull that would give us an indication that this could be gunfire in some way, or that he had been struck in the head with a depressed skull fracture, something of that nature. You're not going to be able to determine, for instance, if this was a strangulation. If what they're saying is true relative to absence of tissue, which generally is what skeletonized means. So you can't appreciate hemorrhage, that sort of thing, in the neck area. You go down this road and you begin to think about, well, did he hang himself? Okay, well, was there a rope adjacent? Did he shoot himself? Well, was there a weapon found there? And finally, people are asking, is this an OD? Well, circumstantial evidence we would look for is an open pill bottle or signs of illicit drug use.
So, Joe, they didn't say anything about a gun. It's the first thing I thought when a lot of people said, well, maybe he went in there and shot himself. Well, if you shoot yourself and you die, typically the gun isn't far away. It's not like you can spend a whole bunch of time afterwards after that gunshot and, put it somewhere. So that so far is not information that we have. But regarding that information, when we were trying to get information with regard to Gabby Petito's autopsy, the coroner in Wyoming said, I've been asked to keep that quiet for a few weeks. And I'm wondering if the same kind of thing could be going on here.
No, I don't think it's a matter of them being asked to keep it quiet. I think that this is such a detailed investigation. Ash, there's so many elements from a forensic standpoint and from an anatomical standpoint that still have to be assessed. You've got a body, they're saying partial skeleton, remember that. So that implies to me that you have potentially scattered remains, which means they don't have a complete skeleton. Don't be surprised in the coming days if perhaps you see cadaver dogs coming back out there, members of the ME's office coming back out there, because what they would be looking for instance, are small particulate pieces of bone that maybe have been drug away by scavengers at this point in time. That's the key. You need all of the information that you can. You have to have it coalesce in order to make a final determination from a scientific standpoint. You can't go off half-cocked on this. So it's going to take some time, but I don't think it's withholding information. That we're in an analysis phase right now.
I personally think that there was a weapon involved. I don't think that he would have. I don't think that there's. Hey, Molly. You just autoplayed onto Molly. yeah, I don't think that I think he was too much of a coward to go any other way. And I'm not saying that using a weapon is the easy way out, but I think it's just the easiest way out. And he had weapons available to him in Florida. This could be why he had to go back to Florida. I don't know. I really don't know. Unauthorized debit or credit card use should be covered by the card issuers. Let's see. What body is decomposed a skeleton in such short time? Well, considering where they are, humidity, water level, heat in Florida, it's totally possible. I mean, obviously, it's obviously possible because they found his partial skeletal remains and he's only been missing a month. So this whole time when it was like, Brian isn't missing, he's hiding, Brian went and hid and died. Or like, oh gosh, I can't fathom his parents having known that he was there the whole time. Like, they just went straight there like, oh, well, we know his camping spots. We know his hiding spots. That I get, but I don't know. I don't believe it. There's, like you guys are saying, there's something fishy there. It's totally fishy. He had a gun in Wyoming, case loan. I don't know if that's been confirmed, but I would think that it would be rather silly to travel without a gun. I do. I think if you're going to be traveling far and wide, you should have some type of weapon, especially if you're living in the vehicle. Did you see all of the Bertolino interview? Yes, Elvis's girl. We played it. He is such a jerk. Just cold as ice. The family himself. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy is upset that his 10 minutes of fame is over. It was on the seat case loan. Yeah, I didn't see that. But I'm sure we'll know now. Let's see. All right, just want to make sure my laptop isn't dying. But did anybody have something that they wanted to bring up? A video, a video or a theory of some sort? You guys know I like to do that too. I'm actually going to look on YouTube right now and see if there's anything new. Brian Enton has been on it. I'm going to probably pull up his Twitter because he is killing it with the coverage. Let's see, Brian Enton. Isn't it funny that now there's people that have never used Twitter, people that have never used TikTok all over it now because of this case? I'm not sure if it's funny, but it's interesting how it's gotten people to really broaden their horizon in that way. Let's see. I'm gonna make this
today was through dental records. We're told the medical examiner did not do dental records. Basically, the way that the identification of the remains happened today was through dental records. We're told the medical examiner did not have a lot to work with. It was essentially just bones and part of a skull. But again, it was the dental records. That's how they were able to identify the remains late this afternoon. The way all this went down, we first heard that 2 Northport police detectives showed up to the Laundrie house. They went inside the house. They were there for just 2 minutes talking with Chris and Roberta Laundrie. Then they went back out. We knew that was likely a sign that there was some kind of notification. Immediately got word from the Laundrie family attorney, Mr. Bertolino, that it was in fact Brian. And just a few minutes later, the FBI confirmed it.
And police, Brian, also talked about if the Laundrie parents brought anything into the reserve with them.
Yeah, this has been one of the big things that people have been asking. Is it possible the Laundrie parents may have planted the backpack and the notepad that was found inside the reserve? Well, today, Northport police said they wanted to clear that up. They said they are 100% sure, and they said 100%, those were their words, that the Laundries did not enter the reserve with those items when they came here at 7 a.m. yesterday. You'll remember the Laundries came inside. They located some personal items of Brian's. There were also 2 Northport police officers there that found a backpack, which led to the human remains.
Brian, have we heard from Gabby Petito's family in all of this today?
We have not heard from the Petitos. We did get a statement from their attorney basically saying that they want privacy right now and that when they are ready to speak, they will. This is obviously an emotional time, he said, and they are still processing all of this information. You can imagine how difficult this must be for the Petitos to receive this news, because it wasn't that long ago that we heard from them that, explaining that they wanted justice in this case. And Nicole, Gabby's mom, very specifically said she wanted to see Brian Laundrie in a jail cell. So obviously that will not be happening now.
And what about the reserve? What's happening behind you? Is it cleared?
It's cleared. I mean, man, it's been amazing to see the way they brought everything out tonight, because there were so many FBI agents and search teams and resources from all over the state and canine teams and everything you can imagine, mobile command centers. Well, it all rolled out over the last couple of hours. They are all gone now. The gate is closed, and it appears that the investigation at the reserve is now complete.
The investigation continues into Gabby's death and what has happened. Brian, stick around.
Just more questions. Just more questions. Lisa asked me if I could play the video that I had said earlier on Crazy Crime Chicks Live, and I did show it earlier, but I will play it again. It's not too long, and it's something that people are questioning. It has something to do with his family. It's just that very question, that if they took something into the reserve. So I'm going to go ahead and play that.
Dad, the one to plant the remains and items found on the reserve. After 5 weeks of law enforcement searching this area with drones and canines, Christopher Laundrie volunteers to join the search and ends up finding a dry bag containing a notebook belonging to his son, Brian Laundrie, within half an hour deep in the bushes of a 30,000-acre reserve, leaving many people to wonder how he found this item so quickly and if he somehow planted these discoveries when the park was open to the public the day before. 2 days ago, Chris Laundrie was seen delivering a package to FedEx. Could it be that he mailed a package to a friend to do the dirty work of planting the item for him so that he could retrieve it the next day? Was Brian Laundrie's dad the one to plant the remains and items found on the reserve? After 5 weeks of law enforcement searching this area with drones and canines, Christopher...
It is sus. I mean, he just walks right back there. And Roberta's like, I'm going to walk this way. You walk that way. And you found what people who have gone out there with search dogs and diligent search efforts and grid searching was not able to find. It's very suspicious. And let's just say that they did know. Did they just know that their son was dead there the whole time? I can't stop thinking about that. I just really, this family was cold as ice, always. I want to maybe do a video of all their statements put together, because none of them were moving. None of them felt like they were trying. And now I know why they weren't trying, because they knew the outcome. They said that they had left a note. Somebody had said that there was a note left by his parents on the car when before they brought it back, and it said, Brian, don't hurt yourself. Is that even true? Like, I have a feeling that they knew. But this is all just me guessing. It's so fishy. I lost your comment. Someone has set a Facebook page, Leave Laundrie Alone, with a very in-depth explanation of what has been going on. You know, I do think the parents will be left alone from now on. I'm guessing that if law enforcement doesn't come after them for fees or hindrance or whatever, there's nothing left. Is the case over? Maybe. Aside from getting maybe laws changed for Gabby, I don't think there's much of a case left. I don't think there's an accomplice. This is just, it started so fast and it ended so fast. They took the car because they knew he wasn't coming back, right? Little Miss is saying they took the car, but because they knew he didn't need it anymore. I don't think she had been talking to him on the burner phone, and the attorney actually addressed that he was saying that the news was being ridiculous for saying that because he knew they weren't talking to him, because he knew that Brian wasn't alive anymore. I think that's why they've been so upset and answering so curtly, you know? Let's see. Choa Dawson says, a body can decompose in open air along with animal and insect intervention in a matter of days. Yes, somebody said up above that a forensic examiner was saying within 11 days or something like that. But yes, I did know that. I did know that. Yeah, there's no justice at all. Definitely not. And especially for her family, you know, the fact that her family didn't know where she was and they were looking, not just them, us too. There was a moment in time where I definitely thought Gabby could still be alive. I thought maybe they got in an argument, she decided to go off on her own, and she's camping away with somebody. There was pictures of a girl sleeping in the Grand Teton in the background of people's pictures, and I didn't think it was her, but I had hopes. I also didn't think Brian was dead. So I guess my intuition is just off, but he's gone. I did think he was in the reserve the whole time. I think they had seen him on camera going in, never coming out, and that's why they were insistent on looking there. Even after the Fort DeSoto thing, they were insistent on staying at the reserve. Why they spend so much money looking for him is really suspicious to me. Especially if they maybe knew he was dead. I don't know. I've said dead so many times tonight. Just this case in general has absolutely swept everybody off their feet in the weirdest way. Like, we can't stop thinking about it. I couldn't stop thinking about Gabby when she was missing. My every waking thought was about her. And that's, with having my family and, doing my daily tasks, I just couldn't stop thinking about her. Once they found her, it was on to find Brian, but, it definitely, it's definitely been taking up all of our thoughts, and we have answers now. He's no longer alive. He has been found. What now? There's no justice, right? It is a headache, Gabby Jade. It is a headache. It really is. It's sad. It's very sad that he had to take her life, and then he just took his own life. Like, what a selfish piece of But yeah. I'm really happy that I came live tonight. I wanted to make sure that I, kept up with the case, but not overexposing too much of things that everybody else was already covering. Not that I didn't want to cover it myself, but I figured there's plenty of people doing it right now. But this is something that I personally had to talk on because obviously I have my thoughts and my questions about it. I will be going live more often now that I'm feeling a little bit better. I don't know if any of you missed it earlier. I kind of gave an announcement that we were having another baby in my family, myself having it. So I've been a little bit sick, unmotivated, lethargic, but I'm feeling better. So I will be going live more often again, and then I will be getting a better schedule. I even questioned if I should put my memberships on hold until I feel comfortable, but I don't want to do that either. I love my memberships, and I feel like I just need to sharpen it up better. I need more tips from you guys on what I could do to, come through on the perks, having our own lives, but making sure that they're well scheduled and stuff. Thank you all so much for being here. I am going to play a video that I made of Gabby. It's personally my favorite. I play it on a lot of the end of my videos. It's about 8 minutes long. It's absolutely beautiful. Thank you, Matt Willis. And I will leave it with that. I will leave it at that. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you all for caring about Gabby. And I am very sorry for everybody that is as pissed off as I am that this is the outcome of such a crazy whirlwind of a case, but also this is the outcome of this woman's life. She deserves so much better. And I hate that she loved him and trusted him, and he did this to her. And he essentially just took her life so he could then have her to himself. Nobody else could have her. Asshole. I'll leave that. I'll leave it at that. I'm going to go ahead and play this. Have a good night, guys. Be better, not bitter, or a good day, because I know some of you guys are my across the islanders. Be better, not bitter. Be kind to each other. And also, whatever you put out, you get back. So try to only put out good if you only want good to come back to you. I know it's hard. Being a square bear isn't easy. But I promise you, when you start doing things right and you follow through and you're good to yourself and you're good to your heart and you're good to other people, good things will happen. All right, here we go. Once again, thank you guys for all being here. I will be live more often now, but I will be scheduling them just so, I'm on track. Be good, guys. Have a good night and day.